The details are mind-boggling. How do I figure this out? Is this okay? Is this a coincidence? Like, I'm fascinated. I vote yes.
It's a snap. That was a snap, literally.
It is time for the weekly Stark Report. We get to Jayson a little earlier in the week this week than we have so far this hot stove season. Mr. Stark, good morning.
Morning, boys. Hey, I'm all in on the Cleveland Spiders, by the way. Check out those 1899 Cleveland Spiders. Lost 134 games. Pretty sure they lost 42 of their last 43. Legendary.
I don't know that if that's the case, I'm not sure the current franchise would want to channel into any of that. Remains to be seen what we'll know them as moving forward. Hey, let's talk about some of the comings and goings as we talk about nickname changes in baseball and potential comings and goings as we reimagine the Rays, and they do as good a job as any pro sports franchise at maximizing assets. Is there something regarding the current roster that could allow them to get to the next level, say trading an incumbent, a stalwart, a guy with more skin in the game there than anybody else on the roster? And yes, I'm suggesting, is Kevin Kiermaier someplace that they could go to spin off and get better?
Well, if you're asking, would the Rays really trade the face of their franchise? To which I would answer, why don't you ask Evan Longoria about this or David Price about this? Like, we have seen this movie before. And, all right, why would they trade this particular player? Think about their options in center field. They could pay Kevin Kiermaier $11.5 million next year, or they could pay Manuel Margot about $3 million. And ask yourself, how do the Rays think? I think we know how they think. So then the next question is, how tradable would Kevin Kiermaier be? And here's my theory about this trade market. The kind of guys who are most tradable are players whose skill set is almost impossible to find on the free agent market. Kevin Kiermaier has such elite defensive skills. I think there is literally nobody else like him, right? Who could you go sign? Who could you go trade for who's as good a defender as he is? So that's what I see. And then the question from there is, like, who else could they possibly package him with? And you're seeing a lot of rumors that he could be particularly a guy you could attach, say, to Blake Snell. It's just a really interesting thing to contemplate.
Wow. Team for you. Send him to the Angels. You leave Trout in center, moved Upton to right. You're going to trade Joe Adell in a package to go get Kiermaier and Blake Snell with a package of collection of players.
Joe Adell is exactly what the Rays would covet right now, too, right? Skill set.
He'd be the centerpiece, but there's other guys who sent him.
Wow, that's interesting. I would have thought that if Ian Happ had not asserted himself as being one of the best players on the Cubs in 2020, maybe the Cubs would be in the market for a center fielder, but Happ's that good. I think you cross him off, and we're trying to connect the dots with Kiermaier in Chicago. We know about his background, his brother working on the grounds crew there, et cetera. What about San Diego for a place for Kevin Kiermaier? I mean, there's no shortage of talent in the outfield, but, you know, nobody better defensively than Kiermaier. I would also say this, Jayson, that fan base has absorbed so many gut punches, and that list of players that you just went through, starting with Price and Longoria, of course. It is how they operate. Kevin Kiermaier is one of my favorite players in the game, and if I'm a Rays fan and they moved him, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I'd just be super bummed. That's all.
Yeah, I agree with you, but, you know, this is just part of their MO. It really is a tough place to be a fan. And for the reason that you just articulated, Matt, it's just hard to go out and buy that jersey and think you could wear it to a game, right, for the next 5 years. But it's just what they do. They turn over their roster. They trade a guy like this with 2 years of control, $26 million over those 2 years, counting his buyout. It just makes too much sense when you think about what the Rays have been. Has any team traded the face of its franchise more than the Rays?
Great point. You know, and while we're on the topic of suggesting preposterous trades, if you're a Yankees fan, you think, our guys stole Luke Voit for a song from the St. Louis Cardinals. We've got Aaron Boone coming on the program a little bit later on. He's hardly going to tell us who's on the trading block there. But is there a scenario, a pathway, as they say, for a Luke Voit deal from the Yankees?
Well, it's not very often that a guy like this gets traded, and the Yankees have no real reason to trade Luke Voit. Look, he's 5 years of control. He's not even arbitration eligible yet. But, if you think about why they would, and think about how rare this trade would be, how often does the team trade the home run champ, right? It's 5 times in the last 50 years.
Wow.
And if you look at this list, it's usually that home run champ going to the Yankees, not leaving the Yankees. But, I think if you take a step back and think about the Yankees roster big picture, don't they need to get more left-handed? I think that's one thing. Other teams have said they think the Yankees will move a right-handed bat this winter to try to get more left-handed. Also, it's a chance to potentially give themselves more roster flexibility if they sign DJ LeMahieu, more places for him to potentially play, like first base. So there's that. Now, again, there's no pressing need for them to do this. A lot could depend on how their offseason unfolds, but it's just something to keep an eye on.
Interesting stuff.
Rodney Dangerfield, that's what I call him, man. This guy just mashes. He shows up in spring training. You don't have a spot. Let's see what you can do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, if we're laundry listing, potential trades of big-name players, let's go to the Rangers here, because you're suggesting, as some have, that maybe moving Joey Gallo is among the few ways that the Rangers have to spin an asset and get better immediately. What say you?
Well, we haven't heard his name a lot this winter, but think about it. They just traded Lance Lynn. He is a Scott Boras client with 2 years of control. If you're going to move him, this would feel like the time to do it. And I think the Rangers announced with that Lance Lynn deal, they don't think they're ready to contend this year. So this is another guy to watch. And then let's go back to my other point. Players who could get traded this winter are players whose skill set is hard to find on the free agent market. How many 40 home run bats are out there? Joey Gallo's already had 2 40-homer seasons. And think about how good he was in the first half 2 years ago. He was an MVP candidate. These are your AL WAR leaders at the All-Star break in 2019. I've heard of those other guys. The question is that what he is now? He hit 181 last year. So how easy would it be to trade a 181 hitter? I think maybe easier than you would think. If you're an analytics team, for example, you don't care about the strikeouts with Joey Gallo. You're looking at the walks, you're looking at the home runs, you're seeing what he can be. And if you're, say, a more scouting-based team, the tools are incredible. The big power bat, the ability to play right field with a good arm. I think Joey Gallo is a really marketable guy if they decide to go that route. So I would say stay tuned.
Maybe you'd be buying low on a guy with that big potential. Who cares about the on-base percentage?
The whole on-base thing, it's hogwash in a sense.
Hogwash in a sense is what we think.
Well, he walks. The question is, can he? If the batting average gets higher, the on-base gets higher. It's what we saw 2 years ago.
Right.
I think you're always going to ride the roller coaster with him. I don't know how much consistent contact he'll make, but what a bunch of tools in that toolbox.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that ride,
man.
I'll take that ride on Joey Gallo.
He's play anywhere.
He's fun. All right, hey, let's get to the trivia question here, Jason, because Harold thinks he's got it.
All right, Kurt Schilling, 19 postseason starts back in the day. We've got 4 active pitchers, guys, who have started that many postseason games. Can you name those 4?
That would have been no big deal 20 years ago. All right, you ready? I got to figure it's Clayton Kershaw.
Yes, sir. 30.
I got to figure Verlander.
Yep, 30 for him, too.
Max Scherzer with Detroit all those years.
Yeah, Max Scherzer is 1 short. 18 starts.
All right,
let me take over now.
I wasn't done.
Oh, okay.
All right, well, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You had 4.
My last one was Mad Bum.
Mad Bum's only 14 starts.
John Lester.
That's a good one.
John Lester is correct.
That's a good one.
Cole Hamels?
We got them all. We got them.
Cole Hamels just misses. He's got 15.
The one guy I had.
You want a hint?
David
the guy
Price?
won a Cy Young. David Price. Are we counting him as active? He's just short also.
Give it up, because that's we just emptied it out.
Zach Greinke.
I always
would be
forget.
the last guy on the list.
Always forget Greinke
An
in these
excellent
questions.
trivia stumper.
Yeah.
John Lester was a good get, Matt. That was good.
Man.
I was not thinking about him.
Good stuff. Jason, we appreciate it as always. Good visiting with you, and we'll talk to you next week.